song by Katie Tunstall is You're Not the One for Me. Would some of you like to sing that song to some of the people in your company? There are three kinds of employees: those that will work, those that won't work, and those that won't quit. Now, I know what you're thinking before I go any farther. What could this woman possibly teach me? She looks like the long-lost love child of Steven Seagal and Demi Moore. Give it a minute, it'll soak in. The look actually is Greek. I'm actually part Greek, part Czech, so I'm cheek, okay? I claim the Greek most because, well, it's my heritage, but I will tell you, the way you know, any of you go to the Greek food festival here, anybody ever see Big Fat Greek Wedding? Okay, that's my family, okay? So now you know our problem. We love to talk, and we love to eat. In fact, the ladies in my family love to talk and eat so much, our hips will come around the corner about 5 minutes before we do, okay? In fact, I went to this one Renaissance Fest, which was really nearby here, Scarborough Fair, if you've heard of that. And I went, and this gypsy woman and her little crew comes running up to my group, points me out, and goes, "I can see by those hips, you are so Greek." She said, "But by those hips, I want to make a prediction. Your moon is always in the house of pancakes." Some stress. Stress can cause stress. Can getting people to own their jobs cause you stress, too? Possibly. Look at the looks of all of you. Some of you look stressed. I'm going to have to say. You know how you can tell you're stressed? You go home to make a phone call and you dial 9 to get outside your own home, okay? Now, some of you are not laughing because you go, "That's not funny," because I do that, right? But to me, that's not real stress. Real stress is when you end the day wearing a thong, but you did not start with one, okay? And I'm not seeing a whole lot of laughter from a few of you, okay? I just want you to check the little barometer there on stress. In fact, why don't we just, in the spirit of owning our presence here, in the spirit of owning our jobs, why don't we lighten up just a little bit? Why don't you turn to someone sitting next to you? Why don't you smile really big, and with gusto, could you please say, "I have a wedgie." Go ahead. Go on. Some of you, if you do not know by now in your career what a wedgie is, maybe one of your colleagues will uplift you before the end of the session. Would you like to know how to get other people to own their jobs? I would like to tell you that a lot of it has to do with you first. You have to get your own oxygen before you can get others to get their oxygen. You've got to learn what energizes you. Coming from a Greek background, I have to tell you how I have a really lot of great Greek relatives. My grandfather, for starters. He wasn't a very tall man, but he said you measure a person's height from here up. I like that. I like to expand that and say, from here up, the heart, the mind, and the soul. I suspect I'm surrounded by a lot of very tall people here today, am I right? Yeah. I love being in the presence of lifelong learners, but at the same time, it's a little bit scary because we're the people that are impatient for progress, aren't we? Aren't we? Aren't you the kind of people that stand in front of the microwave oven and yell, "Hurry!" You're type A, right? How many of you self-avowed type A? How many of you type A? You know, there's two. There's type A and then there's extreme type A. See, type A are people that come over to your house and tell you your toilet paper is rolled the wrong way, okay? Extreme type A won't say anything, but will secretly flip every roll in your house. And we know who you are, okay? We know who you are. But I want to tell you that the passion starts with the inner self. For instance, my grandfather, he had a passion to own his life, which transcends into everything we do. He wanted to come over on the boat to Ellis Island and own his world and own his life. Before he did, though, I have to tell you, he wanted to have a great life, so he wanted to marry my grandmother. Now, marriage customs have changed a little bit. You know, these days it can take 6 months, a year. You get a wedding planner, you get a wedding, whatever started. My grandfather, no, very different. Wedding customs, very different back in the old country. Saw my grandmother from 100 feet away, sitting on her donkey, and said, "That's the girl for me." Now, how many guys in this room thought, "Well, that's easy, Kelly. You know, back then to get married, donkey, done deal." You love that? And ladies, how easy for us to get married back then. All we had to do was sit on our donkey. All right, I'm going to ring that. There we go. I'd like to also give you a little bit of what I like to call bonus information, all right? How about a quick listening tip? Just because you've been sitting here today, you have a tendency to tune in and tune out. You know, like they do on the airlines. I know you've heard that before. You've got to make sure if you want people to own their jobs that they're with you before you even start talking with them, you know? But I love the flight announcements that do this. The flight attendant knows we're all jaded, and so she doesn't really think we're listening. So she starts off, "Y'all might as well sit down and shut up, because you know if we go down, you're going to be looking for me." about 123 people look up and around their newspapers. But a couple of things, I know you've heard these before, but a couple of things she said that I had never heard before. She said, now, we have a problem with the oxygen. 4 masks will drop down, but only 2 will work. She goes, are you feeling lucky today? I love that. And I like also, the last time that I flew, the new ending, we realize that you have a choice of bankrupt airlines to fly. We thank you for giving us the business, all right? So what I love about that is, do those people own their jobs? Yes, absolutely. They decided, look, this is what I've got to do day in and day out. Another one of my favorite examples of somebody owning her job, she actually had this very irate group of people whose flight was canceled, about 123 people waiting in line. Man butts up in the front of the line and says, you must handle me. I'm in first class. She said, sir, I understand that you've got a problem. She said, all these people do. If you just step back in line, I promise to help you. She said, sir, I really, really will help you. And he said, no, do you know who I am? And she said, oh, I am so sorry. I didn't realize. She stepped over to the microphone and she said, ladies and gentlemen, there's a man in the waiting area who does not know who he is. If he looks like someone you know, could you please help him? We've got to help our people, though, understand. So there's many things that we can do to get them to get there. One of the things that I like to always remind us all is we need to clarify expectations to get people to own their jobs. We need to clarify expectations. In other words, conversation goes something like this. You literally have someone come in and you say, listen, I expect you to own your job. Here's what it looks like. I expect you to know the skills needed for the job that you've taken. I expect you to understand that those skills that you have do match the skills for the job that you've taken. I expect you to notice that we have standards of performance. We have certain levels. We need to know when we're at standard, above standard, or below standard. I expect you to know that. And I expect you to know when there's a gap in the standard. I expect you to come to me before I have to come to you to tell you there's a gap. I expect you to proactively work on closing those gaps before I even come to talk with you. I expect you to be a problem solver, not a problem finder. We had a lot of problem finders, and they were so good that we promoted them to other companies. Does that sound like a conversation that might be a good conversation to have? If it's not happening already, as soon as someone gets into the orientation pipeline, it should be that way, because we need to move in that direction. Now, besides clarifying expectations, we need to also learn to do this. We need to talk with people, not at people. Have any of you ever heard this conversation? Hey, I need you here at 9. What for to 9? Don't you understand? Have you all heard that one? Does that not sound like, hey, I need you to clean your room, all right? You not heard that one? Does that not remind you of everything your parents have ever said to you? It reminded me so much of all those things that I had to write them down on a card. You just don't know my parents. You say these with me if it sounds familiar. Don't talk with your mouth full. Does that sound, oh, look, I hit some nerves on that one. Straighten up and fly right. Shape up or ship out. Don't make me pull this car over. If all the kids in the neighborhood jumped off a cliff, does that mean you have to jump off a cliff too? I'll give you something to cry about. Just you wait till your father gets home. This is my favorite. I'm going to count to 3. Oh, did I hear 10? Whoa, I wish. I've had managers like that. But here's what I want you to understand. Leaders always get to 3. And through the clarification process, we know what 3 is. Some people never get to 3. It's 2.5, 2 3/4. Count with me. How did that go? 1, 2, and then we go 2 5/6. And then my favorite was when someone asked you a question, your answer was because why? Because I said so. We cannot manage from because I said so. We need to manage with passion, on purpose, with clarity. Does anybody have anybody that might need this to be reminded? Anybody have that? It'll be up here if you do need it. I will tell you this, though. One more thing you need to make sure that you have, in addition to this toolkit, is to make sure that you have absolutely no tolerance for negativity. Do any of you have negative people around? Let me just say this. Harvard Business Review reminds us that 55% of people are disengaged and 16% are actively disengaged. Do you understand what that means? 16% are walking around like zombies just picking up the paycheck. Do you know anybody like this? If you're sitting next to them, just kind of wink at me, okay? I know. But you know who these people are? These are people that walk around, look like they've been sucking lemons all day, right? You know, and they have that face. You know that face that's like halfway between confusion and constipation, you know? And they look like that. And you ask them the question, you take the bait, and you go, what's wrong? They're nothing. I'm happy, look, why? And you say, well, maybe you want to notify your face because you don't look happy. But one of the things that we want to do for negativity is we want to make sure that there is no tolerance for negativity. We really have to take a stand. You need to give everybody what I call a license to thrill. Now, one of the ways you can do that is you can have a couple of what I call little handy anti-negativity devices. It goes like this. Somebody says something negative. You simply pull out your handy anti-negativity device and you go, excuse me, but something just got all over me. Now, I have a few of these I'd like to give away. Does anybody actually need one of these? All right? All right. I'm going to give them. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them here, and you can quietly, no one will know you're grabbing it. But for some of you, that's not enough. For some of you, you don't want to get too close to these people. You really want to make sure. So I want you to have that. All right? You look like you could use that. All right? I don't mean that in a bad way. All right? How about a little more bonus information? Would you like, isn't this great, the bell? Why, you know, this assertive communication. Wouldn't it be great if you were in a meeting and you go, excuse me, but I have something to say. Oh, no, that was a good idea. Would somebody like this bell? I know you would. Would you like that? You would, wouldn't you? I know you would. But look what I've got. Look what I've got for you. This is a brand new, never been opened, never rung bell. All right? Take it out of the package. Take it out. Give it a ring. Just go ahead and try it. Do you feel the power? Here's what I want you to think about. See, now this is where you are quiet. The thing I love about this is, does it bother you, though? These people, though, if you have a high resilience for negativity, then you're going to be the one that sets the example of resilience. Nobody's going to buy it, you asking someone else not to be negative, if you are modeling the opposite. So here's what I want to ask you the question. These people that are walking around not being accountable are actually causing problems, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you this question. Does it frustrate you when people don't listen? Yes. Does it frustrate you when you have to repeat yourself? Yes. Does it bother you when you have to answer the same question every day? Yes. To the same person? Yes. Within like 5 minutes? Yes. Do you live with this person? Oh, I'm sorry, different seminar. If it's happened to you, then guess what? You're experiencing what we all experience because people don't listen. People don't follow stupid, simple instructions. People really need to be reminded. Why? Well, because they have questions and they think, okay, you ready for this? We have answers. Well, where I come from, this is good because if they think we have answers, then we have a job. Hello, is everybody with me? So I want us to reframe something really quickly, and this is something that you need to have in your mind firmly when someone comes in and goes, what do I do? I want you to repeat after me in your best fake Texas accent. Can you give me 2 thumbs up, everybody? Repeat after me. Problems are good. Problems pay my rent. People who don't listen pay for my happy hour. People who don't listen pay for my happy hour. So from now on, when you hear that phone ring and you hear ring, ring, no, 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 reframe, cha-ching, bling, bling. You got a problem? I got a car payment. Woohoo! It works that way. Oh, thank you. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, you gave it away. You gave your bell away. That's a special thing, Mindy. That's a very special thing. Well, let me also remind you, our mission, what we've been hired to do, is to move transactions forward. Move transactions forward. You need to get in the minds of your people that you've been hired to move transactions forward. Now, I did this at an air traffic control conference and was told I was giving mixed signals. Okay? I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, Kelly, you fly a lot. You should know by now we moved the plane forward this way, and you're telling us back it up, baby, back it up. So here's what I want you to understand. There is a difference between motion and progress. Your mission is to know when you are moving or progressing. You need to know the difference. Here's how you're going to know 3 specific things that you need to know and get into the heads of your people. Number 1. You need to make sure that you can fix it. If you have the resources, the power, and all the things you need to fix it yourself. Number 1, fix it. Number 2, refer it if you don't have everything you need. Send it out. Wait for an email. Wait for more data. Talk to someone else. Get different authority. But at least it's moving. It's not in limbo. 3rd item, agree on next steps. That's it. Fix it, refer it, agree on the next steps. If you do one of these 3 things, you're truly moving a transaction forward. Here's what you have to get into the heads of your people. 50 voicemail tags is not moving forward. It's motion, but it's not progress. Make sure they understand the difference between the intention and the impact. Now, notice, fix it, refer it, agree on next steps. Notice what's not in the list. Whining. Ooh, what a surprise. Whining's not one of the three. What's the definition of whining? Complaining through a very small opening. All right? Any of you have any whiners in your midst? Do you want to just wear a T-shirt that says, do I look like a wine rack? Okay. One of the things I do if I have whiners around is I take a balloon and I blow it up when they get ready, because here they come. The show's getting ready to start. Blow the balloon up and wait, because the sound they make sounds like the sound this balloon makes when I let the air out. I caution you not to use this around your boss, okay? One of the other things that I've noticed, too, is you've got to own your own job. You've got to make sure that you give yourself your own oxygen. For instance, I have found that I can relieve my stress by causing stress in other people, right? This works for me. Let me give you an example. There are two things we have to really understand in the world, okay? My great-grandfather used to say, Calliope, there's only two things to motivate people. You got to know what makes them tick or what ticks them off. Is it true? What makes you tick are things you love. More gain, more happiness, more money, more effort, or less effort, but for what you get. Pain, we want less of. We want more of the things we love. So when someone says to you, what do you love about your job? Here's what I hear. The people, the challenge, the variety, the paycheck. And then I hear this. What frustrates you about your job? The people, the challenge, the variety, the paycheck. The thing that I love about my job is the light bulb moment. You never know when it's going to happen. The light bulb's just going to go on somewhere. Someone somewhere, I feel like my job is a light bulb distributor. That's what I do. It's going to click somewhere, somebody's going to get it, it's going to help them, and they're going to pass it on, and that's what we want. Do you know some people that if they put this over their head, it would never actually ever light? That's kind of scary. But let me tell you what I've decided. The thing I love the most is the light bulb moment. The thing that I'm really not liking so much anymore is the travel. So I decided if I'm going to travel, I'm going to figure out a way to enjoy this thing that brings me more of the thing I love. So I'm on the plane, and I like now to find people who've never flown before. There's a woman sitting in my row, as luck would have it, white-knuckling the arms rests. I said to her, have you never flown? She said, no, and I'm absolutely terrified. I said, let me tell you something. I fly 3 or 4 days a week. We're safer in the air than we are driving in a car. She said, oh, thanks for saying that. I feel so much better. My sister tried to prepare me. I said, now you do know your part on takeoff, don't you? She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, with the fuel prices what they are these days, the passengers have to help with the lift of the aircraft on takeoff. She said, but now, how does that work? My sister did not say anything about this. And I said, no, it's real simple. All we do is we get rolling down the runway, and we flap a little to pick up the air. She said, really? I said, no, that's not all. Just one more thing we have to blow just to get a little draft. Shh, 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 like this. Okay, now, side conversation. You know how when you talk on the plane, your voice kind of carries? 2 gentlemen in front of me heard me. One of them turned around and winked at me, and he said, we'll do this with you. 2 gentlemen to my left said, we're in. We'll do it too. I thought, oh, this is great. I got a crew of 6 on the second row. This could actually work. So we start rolling down the runway, and I check my crew. Check, 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 check. Let's flap. She's got her eyes closed. Shh, shh. We take off into the wild blue. The plane's going nuts. She's doing the celebration dance. I did so good on my takeoff. Woo, I tell my sister. Oh, we wanted to let her own her connection and let her go off alone. And not tell her that's not what we really do. But I'm not that mean. I decided to turn to her and I said, listen, I got to tell you something. We really don't do that on the takeoff. She said, you know something? I'm not mad. Because I was so focused on being a good flapper that I forgot we left the earth. I want you to think about that. Have you ever been so involved in your job and you flapped so hard you forgot you left the earth? That's how intense it was. Can you get to the point with your people that you could get so focused that you let them forget they left the earth because they flapped so hard? I want you to think about that. In the meantime, I'd like to leave you with a couple of wonderful little parting gifts. I would like to give an award for the person who's come the farthest to be here today. Who might that be? Okay. I'm going to give what's called the extra mile award, and I'm going to give it to you just because you're in the back row. That's pretty far, okay? I want to give what I call the extra mile award. This is for all of us that we know what needs to be done, and we know when, and we do it whether we want to or not. I'm going to give you dinner for 4 at a Macaroni Grill. Nice. Thanks for being a good sport. Why don't you own that dinner? And last but not least, does anybody here need a magic wand? I'd like to give a magic wand. Actually, I can't give these out because they were actually regulation issue from an airliner. But I'd like to give you a starter kit to move transaction forward. And I'd like to give a gentleman a magic wand. Can I get one gentleman who needs a gift? A parting gift. Okay. Oh, your name is Greg. I know you. Greg, I'd like to give you a magic wand that's guaranteed to move transactions forward. I want you to take this and use it wisely. Thanks so much. You guys have been great. Thank you so very much.